Next, 3 stories. The first is from Emily, the second is from Lívia, and the third is from Verônica. Enjoy.
Mystery of the Gothic City. Emily has always been fascinated by the Gothic era, so when she heard about an ancient city that has been preserved to the present time, she knew she had to see it for herself. She arrived in the early afternoon. As she walked through the town's narrow, winding streets, she felt a sense of unease. The air was thick with an ominous haze, and the ancient buildings loomed over her like silent sentinels. Emily had the feeling that she was being watched, and the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. She quickened her pace, hoping to get to the hotel soon. On the way to the hotel, she heard the sound of footsteps behind her. Emily turned around, but there was no one to be seen. She decided to ignore it and continue on her way. Upon arriving at the hotel, Emily was relieved to see the warm light pouring from the windows. She hurried inside, eager to escape the chill that had begun to grip the city during the misty late afternoon. When she approached the front desk, the receptionist gave her a strange look. "Are you sure you want to stay here, miss?" asked the receptionist. Emily was taken aback. "What do you mean?" she asked. "This is not a town for outsiders," the receptionist said, in a low voice. "Eerie things happen here at night." Emily laughed nervously. "I'm sure it's just a story to arouse the curiosity of tourists," she said, to close the conversation. The evening was approaching, and Emily began to second-guess herself about the warnings uttered by the receptionist. There were weird noises outside the window and whispers coming from the hallway. Then, she noticed a symbol engraved on the bedroom wall. Feeling uncomfortable, she decided to investigate it further. She searched for information available on the internet, but what she found was not enough to alleviate her anguish. Emily decided to go to the local library to research the town's history. She quickened her pace, as it was already late, and the library would close soon. What Emily found in the library was disturbing. The city had a long and dark history, full of stories of witches, demons, and black magic. The most dreadful find was that the symbol that she saw in her hotel room was described as a crucial element in the rituals that were performed. Anyone would have understood that the obvious thing to do was to get out of that town as soon as possible, but that wasn't Emily's perception. She didn't see that situation as chance. For her, there was a greater purpose in it all. Determined, with almost mystical courage, she decided to go deeper into what she had just discovered. Emily went back to the hotel room and started scouring the place for more clues. That place had an even heavier atmosphere than the other sites where she had been in that city. If there was something there, she was close to revealing it. As she scanned every corner of the room, she found a subtle gap in the floorboards. The boards were loose, and beneath them, there was a hidden compartment. Inside it was an old, but well-preserved book, which was written in a language she didn't recognize. Using a translation app on her phone, Emily began to decipher it. The book contained powerful spells and enchantments, all focused on summoning a demon that could grant wishes. Emily realized with awe that the symbol that was in her room was a representation of a summoning circle. Many uncanny sensations and thoughts invaded Emily. A tempting and, at the same time, terrifying sense of power attempted to dominate her. From that moment on, Emily felt that she had to act quickly. But how? She didn't have enough knowledge to deal with evil forces. Then, her reason seemed to succumb, for instinctively, she began to recite the incantation calling out for the demon. However, in doing so, she realized that she didn't want to make any wishes. Emily had everything she needed in life, and was happy that way. She didn't want to risk losing everything. Suddenly, a sense of purity came through Emily. As if unconsciously guided, she altered the words of the incantation, invoking the demon and ordering him to leave the city to never return. The atmosphere became heavier, and she felt an intense cold hit her body. Out of nowhere, what appeared to be dark, fetid smoke filled the room. A mix of deafening noises, groans, cries and whispers made her barely able to think. In the midst of it all, Emily caught a glimpse of a tall creature, which was darker than all that smoke and was shrouded in shadows. It was terrifying. But then, everything was gone, and the room became absolutely silent. Emily, astonished, remained in her room, unable to sleep. Early in the morning, she decided to leave the city. As she walked through the empty streets, a sense of peace washed over her. She had solved the macabre mystery and was left unharmed. She had been dealing with forces that were unknown to her. Nevertheless, stronger forces protected her in some way that she couldn't quite explain, but for which she was absolutely grateful. As she boarded the train, she felt proud of herself. She didn't look for the easy way out, even though it seemed to be the safest choice. She faced her fears, did what she felt it was the right thing to do, and managed to emerge victorious. Obsessive Darkness. Lívia has always been a restless sleeper, but lately her nightmares have become disturbing. Every night, she dreamed of a decrepit old house in the middle of nowhere, with dark, mysterious shadows lurking around every corner. She would wake up in a cold sweat, her heart racing, unable to shake the fear that gripped her. One night, in the midst of one of these nightmares, Lívia saw a name written on the wall of the house. When she woke up, she remembered the name and went to search. She found that it was the name of a small town she had never heard of, but which wasn't that far from where she lived. Over the weekend, driven by the desire to put an end to her disturbing nightmares, she decided to embark on a trip to that city. Upon arrival, Lívia began asking local residents for information about the old mansion she had seen in her dreams. The more she asked, the more details of the place came to her mind. Everyone she talked to spoke about the same abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. Despite her fears, Lívia couldn't resist the urge to visit the house and see it with her own eyes. As she walked towards the old mansion, she could feel her heart beating faster. Her chest was burning slightly inside. The garden gates were rusted and ajar, as if the place were inviting her in. She pushed them off and walked towards the residence. Upon arriving at the mansion, the front entry door was unlocked. The interior had remnants of a luxurious era, but it was so deteriorated that everything was even more macabre than she had imagined. The walls were covered in dirt and cobwebs, and there was a smell of rot in the air. Lívia's fear only increased as she advanced through the mansion. She felt as if she were being watched, and every sudden noise made her shiver. Suddenly, she heard a low growl and realized she wasn't alone in the mansion. She felt a shiver run through her body and a sense of dread invaded her. Lívia knew she needed to get out of the mansion as soon as possible. Then she heard footsteps approaching. Heart racing, Lívia turned and saw a figure emerge from the shadows. He was a tall, frightening-looking man. His eyes were dark and vacant, there was no sharp definition to his features, and his skin was pale as a corpse's. He lunged at her, and Lívia screamed in terror. As she struggled to free herself from the tight grip caused by that bizarre man, she felt her body lose heat. The cold feeling drained the energy from her body. She began to feel suffocated, heard her heartbeat getting lower and lower, almost like a whisper. It was then that she remembered an old prayer taught by her grandmother, when Lívia was still very small. She started reciting the verses of the prayer aloud, with all the strength left in her lungs. Suddenly, a bright light filled the room, breaking through the darkness where she and that creature were shrouded. The man's grip on her loosened. Lívia realized that somehow she had summoned a powerful divine force that was protecting her from that evil. Feeling supernatural strength, Lívia fought the creature and managed to push it away. Visibly weakened, the bizarre man fled into the darkness of another room in the mansion. When leaving that place, Lívia was certain that she had gone through a liberation, and a sense of peace that she had never felt took over her body. Lívia realized that her journey had been more than just a quest to end her nightmares. It was a journey of self-discovery, of learning to face your fears, finding your inner strength and connecting with divine power. Silence and darkness. Verônica, a young woman of engaging beauty, found herself in an unusual situation. Following the traditions of her land, she was betrothed to the enigmatic Romanian earl, known for his immense wealth and reclusive nature. His castle, perched atop a formidable mountain, stood in dark silhouette against the moonlit sky. Whispers of mystery and intrigue surrounded the earl, for he was never seen in daylight, but emerged under the cover of night, engaging in strange and secret nocturnal activities. When Verônica arrived at the castle, she couldn't shake the feeling of apprehension that enveloped her. The imposing structure exuded an aura of melancholy, and the air carried an eerie stillness. The earl received her with reserved politeness, his pale complexion contrasting with the darkness of his attire. His piercing eyes, devoid of any perceptible warmth, seemed to hold a deep, untold story. The days turned into nights, and Verônica got used to the peculiar routine of her new life. During the day, the castle remained shrouded in silence, with the doors and shutters firmly closed. But as dusk enveloped the land, the earl emerged, a mysterious figure shrouded in darkness. Whispers filled the halls, telling of hidden passages and secret chambers hidden within the labyrinthine walls of the castle. Verônica's curiosity got the better of her. Under cover of night, she embarked on her own exploration of the castle's secrets. The flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows as she ventured deeper into the unknown, guided only by the soft echoes of her footsteps. She discovered forgotten rooms, adorned with faded tapestries and dusty portraits, each telling its own silent story. One fateful night, while stealthily navigating the castle's corridors, Verônica discovered a hidden door. Intrigued, she opened it, revealing a room bathed in moonlight. There was a magnificent gallery of paintings, each representing a figure very similar to the Count, but from different times. The screens seemed to whisper stories of eternal life and forbidden desires, fueling Verônica's imagination. As time passed, she noticed a gradual change in the earl's behavior. He seemed more withdrawn, haunted by inner demons that remained silent. His nocturnal habits grew even stranger, his absences lasting longer and his demeanor darker upon his return. Verônica's love for the earl was mixed with a sense of unease, as if his darkness threatened to consume her own light. During a moonlit night, when Veronica, unable to resist the lure of the unknown, followed the Count deep into the castle. What she witnessed there defied all rational explanation and plunged her into a web of uncertainty. Shadows danced, whispers filled the air, and an unearthly presence seemed to envelop them both. Countess Veronica was never seen again. Some say she became a willing participant in the Count's enigmatic nocturnal world, always surrendering to the allure of darkness. Others believe she fled the castle, escaping its haunting clutches, ever tormented by the mysteries she glimpsed. To this day, the truth remains elusive, lost within the confines of the castle walls. The young woman's family never mentioned the matter again. The story of Countess Veronica and the reclusive Count is a testament to the enigmatic nature of love, the limits of human perception, and the fascination with the unknown. Tragedy or triumph, this is a story left to wander in the imagination of local residents, who lead their peaceful lives in the small village at the foot of the imposing mountain shrouded in silence and darkness.